9 months after one of the boldest, most controversial trades in recent memory, the Dallas Mavericks have pulled the plug on their general manager. Nico Harrison is out, fired after a disastrous start to 2025-26 and nonstop fallout over the Luka Doncic trade. AP News. This isn't just another front office shakeup. It's the end of a micro era. Harrison traded away a generational superstar, a player who had been the face of the franchise, and the move detonated into a franchise crisis. The deal that sent Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers and brought back Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a single first-round pick left the Mavericks without their cultural anchor, and the timing could not have been worse. Dallas has stumbled to a 3-8 start this season. Injuries have ravaged the new pieces, fan rage boiled over in the stands, and ownership finally stepped in. Reuters. So, fact or fiction? Can you still be mad about the Doncic trade even after Harrison's firing? Short answer, yes. You can be mad for reasons that go beyond the usual bad trade hot takes. This was a franchise-defining decision, executed with bizarre opacity, and a result that not only altered the roster, but also undermined trust between fans, ownership, and front office. When a trade costs you your cornerstone and the front office can't sell the vision, or worse, appears to have cut corners in the market check. Those aren't merely roster mistakes. They're breaches of organizational stewardship. Let's look at the ledger. Doncic hasn't missed a beat in Los Angeles. He's erupting nightly and carrying the Lakers' offense in explosive fashion, a lead role that immediately reframes the trade as a catastrophic loss for Dallas's on-court window. Per the league's stat lines, Doncic is putting up historic numbers this season, leading scoring charts and shouldering an absurd usage workload that vindicates his superstar status. That matters. When you trade a 26-year-old franchise superstar, you're not just swapping points. You're swapping identity, revenue, culture, and leverage. The Lakers didn't just get a player, they got a transformational engine. ESPN.com. Now the counter-argument. Harrison didn't have a blank check. The Mavericks overcame cap and roster constraints, and they thought the package they assembled would keep the team competitive while avoiding a mammoth supermax commitment. Plus, they snagged Cooper Flagg with a lottery miracle that at least gives the franchise a new cornerstone prospect to grow around. Flagg's presence changes the calculus materially. The Mavs still own talent and a future, and rebuilding around an elite rookie is a credible path. But here's the rub. Timing and method matter. The optics of a trade that looks like a quick, private handshake between friends without broad market solicitation will never sit okay with a fan base that watched their icon get moved with surprisingly little return on paper. The presence of Flagg softens the blow, but doesn't erase the headline. Dallas traded away its best player, and the return did not stabilize the team. Reuters. Look at how this unfolded on the court. Anthony Davis has been hobbled by injury, Kyrie Irving has missed significant time, and the offense that was supposed to be retooled around new pieces has struggled to find consistent traction. The Mavericks defense, oddly competent, can't mask the offense's inability to score efficiently without a transcendent floor leader. When the new mix fails to produce wins, the trade becomes an immediate swing and miss rather than a long-term gamble. That's the practical problem. You can headline a narrative about boldness, but wins and fan faith are the currency that buy patience. Dallas hasn't earned that patience. ESPN.com, there's also an institutional lesson here about ownership and process. When governors and owners get involved publicly, as happened in the dispute over clearing Davis to play and in the decision to fire Harrison, it signals a breakdown in trust. Front offices are supposed to be the professional buffer between emotion and execution. When that buffer erodes, confidence evaporates. Firing the GM might placate the crowd, but it doesn't auto-repair the roster choices or reverse the lost seasons. It buys the organization breathing room to rebuild credibility. It doesn't restore what was traded away. So how should fans temper outrage with perspective? First, yes, keep being mad. Emotional responses to a poorly handled, franchise-altering trade are valid, especially when it's clear the deal didn't preserve the team's competitive window. Second, be precise about the target of frustration. There's blame to spread from the guy who executed the trade to the ownership group that let it happen without robust market checks. Third, watch how the franchise rebuilds. If Dallas uses its assets and its new number one pick to craft a coherent plan, a vision players, coaches, and fans can buy into, then outrage begins to convert into accountability. If it doesn't, the anger will look prescient, not performative. Finally, a cold, practical note for Mavericks fans who want closure. Championships aren't made by drama alone. They're made by smart asset management, health, culture, and steady execution. The Doncic trade didn't just rearrange talent on a spreadsheet. It rewired the franchise's identity. Nico Harrison's firing closes a painful chapter, but it doesn't negate the consequences of the deal itself. The only way to move forward without bitter echoes is to be ruthlessly competent from this point on, in scouting, in medical management, in trade markets, and in communication. So, is it still okay to be mad? Absolutely. You can be furious that a beloved star was moved and that the returns haven't materialized. You can be furious that a front office decision fractured trust. But also, you should watch what comes next. A fired GM is a headline. A rebuilt team, healthy and deliberate, is repair. The only real forgiveness any fan base offers is the one earned on the scoreboard. If you want this shaped into a tight 60-second social read or a full 8-minute video script with on-screen stat cards and B-roll cues, tell me which length and I'll deliver the VO breaks and editor notes ready to drop into your timeline. Short take. Pittsburgh's choice to back Aaron Rodgers over chasing Sam Darnold looks increasingly questionable. Not because Rodgers was a bad idea on paper, but because the decision amplified two risks at once: age, health, and one-year upside, while Seattle landed a hot, younger reclamation project who is flourishing. That's a matchup problem for Tomlin and co., and the fallout is now mostly about optics and opportunity cost. Quick recap. In the 2025 offseason, the Steelers chose Aaron Rodgers as their veteran answer at QB. Rodgers arrived with elite resume value, but obvious durability concerns at 41. The Seahawks signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. Through Week 11, Darnold is playing at an MVP caliber level. The user's numbers: 71.1% comp, 2,262 yards, 17 TDs, 6 INTs. Former OL Jeremiah Sirles and many pundits suggest teams that passed on Darnold now have buyer's remorse. The Seahawks' results validate that feeling. Pittsburgh is 5-4 and atop the AFC North. Seattle is 7-2 and a real contender. The question: did Tomlin and the Steelers make the best call? Why the criticism stings. 1. Opportunity cost. Darnold was younger, cheaper, relatively, and on a multi-year deal, the sort of asset that helps both now and later. Passing on him left Pittsburgh with an older bridge whose long-term upside is limited. 2. Durability gamble. Rodgers' upside is obvious, but so is the downside. A declined major injury would force Pittsburgh into a scramble at a time when continuity matters. The Rodgers pick concentrated short-term risk. 3. Narrative plus timing. When a team opts for a short-term veteran and a younger QB immediately explodes elsewhere, hindsight turns reasonable conservatism into missed chance. That's what fuels outrage. Why the move wasn't irrational. Rodgers is still a 4x MVP with the ability to elevate a roster instantly. If healthy and effective, he shortens the window to contention and can win now, which is often the goal for teams in win-while-we-can mode. There are legitimate reasons a front office might prefer a veteran: perceived locker room leadership, instant QB play, reduced acclimation time. Every team's timeline and risk tolerance differ. What to watch next? Real evaluation hinges on these. 1. Rodgers' bounce back. Does he stabilize and lead Pittsburgh to consistent wins? 1 or 2 bad games don't settle the narrative. Long-term perception flips if he plays at a high level across the stretch run. 2. Health. Can Rodgers stay healthy? Durability will decide whether the decision was short-term savvy or strategic malpractice. 3. Organizational response. If Rodgers falters, how quickly do the Steelers pivot, trade for help, develop an internal option, lean into draft assets? Tomlin and the front office will be judged by response, not just the initial call. Bottom line, this was a high-variance choice. Enormous upside if Rodgers is a difference maker, painful optics and opportunity cost if he isn't. Right now, the Darnold comparison magnifies the decision because Seattle's QB is outperforming expectations. That fuels outrage. Reasonable, because fans see a concrete alternate path that paid off. But the true verdict is not immediate. It depends on Rodgers' body of work the rest of the season and Pittsburgh's ability to manage the aftermath. If Rodgers delivers wins and keeps the Steelers competitive, Tomlin's call will look like bold pragmatism. If Rodgers falters and Pittsburgh wobbles while Darnold keeps thriving, the decision will be remembered as a missed chance. Either way, this is a classic NFL crossroads. Choose the veteran swing for now, or the younger swing for later, and live with the consequences.